I want to ride on previous protocol. As said, I'm Engineer Joy Makumbe, and my presentation will be on climate change and the built environment in Zimbabwe. The nature or the structure of my presentation, I'm going to start with an introduction where I'm just going to give you some of the effects that climate change has had in Zimbabwe. And I'm also going to talk about the policies that the country has put in place to enable us to build green. Then I'm going to give you a scenario, current scenario that we have in Zimbabwe. Then also I'm going to give you the future, what Zimbabwe is looking at as we build green into the future. And then my last presentation will be on the possibilities of investment in Zimbabwe. So basically what we're saying is that climate change is real. I mean, we cannot deny that it is real, and it is here to stay. And in Zimbabwe, climate change coupled with the urban sprawl, because our cities keep on growing bigger and bigger, this requires a green approach to urban planning, which has the potential to lower urban temperatures, mitigate air pollution, and build environmental resilience. So designs must be environment and human-centered. According to UNEP 2020, it is estimated that the building and construction sector accounts for 38% of global energy-related carbon dioxide emissions. And looking at Zimbabwe, we have a backlog of housing of 1.5 million. So which means we have to build and build and build. And it's a great challenge given that the building and construction sector contributes so much to the carbon dioxide emissions. But we have to look at ways in which we can do this. And looking at Africa generally, we have huge housing backlogs in Africa, but we still need to make sure that our people have housing that is decent. Then now on the introduction, Zimbabwe, like all countries in the world, has not been spared from climate change menace. The nation has experienced extreme weather events, including flash floods, storms, droughts, heat waves, both in cities and in the rural areas. In 2019, we had Cyclone Idai that affected 270,000 people. 51,000 were displaced and over 340 died, and many others went missing. So that's just a picture that is showing us the effects that Cyclone Idai had on the people. You see the rubble, the housing that has been brought down, and people have to be displaced. Some miss, some die. So that's one of the effects that we have experienced in Zimbabwe. Floods in 2021 in an area called Buliriro displaced 30 families. You can see that man, and the water that is the way it's reaching, and it goes into the houses. You find you are asleep 1 minute, the next you're awake, your bed is flooded, and there's nothing left other than just for you to move. In Benga, we also have floods that marooned villagers, and 37 families were left homeless. Zimbabwe has also experienced temperatures of about 45 degrees Celsius in areas like Kariba, Beit Bridge, Victoria Falls, Gokwe. It's really been extreme. So these effects of climate change, consequentially, they lead to enormous social and monetary loss across multiple sectors. Looking at policy, we have the National Development Strategy 1 from 2021 to 2025. This policy is aimed at realizing the country's vision 2030, which is to achieve an upper middle economy by 2030. Definitely this society must be housed, because if we're looking at people living in an upper middle income society, then people have to be housed, and the housing has to be decent and it has to be sustainable. And also simultaneously, the global aspirations of the Sustainable Development Goals and Africa Agenda 2063 are also addressed in this NDS1. Also, as a Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities, NDS1 also has given a mandate or a target to the ministry to build 220,000 housing units by 2025. This is not just government, we're looking at the whole built environment, including the private sector, where that target to build 220,000 housing units has been given to everyone. Because at the end of the day, even the private sector, when they construct, be it housing, the houses also end up in the basket of the government. We also have the Zimbabwe National Human Settlements Policy. This policy was launched in 2021 by the President. And in this policy, we are looking at planning, development, and management of settlements, which should be consistent with international risk reduction frameworks, environmental and climate change policies, laws, and new building technologies. The policy also focuses on the construction of houses that are affordable, sustainable, modern, and functional. The government of Zimbabwe also seeks to build resilience, promote green energy buildings, and enhance sustainability. Then we have the National Energy Efficiency Policy of 2020. In this policy, it is compulsory for energy efficient building codes to be used. That is, we're looking at efficient lighting, insulation improvement, and more ventilation and air conditioning. Then the policy also calls for the use of solar heaters in new buildings that are to be constructed. Then the SDGs, Zimbabwe has prioritized SDG 11, which is the sustainable cities and communities, and also SDG 13, combating climate change. The country abides by the tenets of international, continental, and regional bodies with respect to provision of climate-proofed, affordable, and modern settlements in accordance with the aspirations of Zimbabwe's Vision 2030 and, of course, the African Union's Agenda 2063. Current scenario. So what is the current scenario in Zimbabwe? Our business walks the climate change talk. What we have there is a picture of Eastgate Mall. This mall was opened in 1996 and it was designed by a Zimbabwean architect, Mick Pierce. What is catching about this building is that it uses natural cooling and it uses what we call termite technology. And also what is that the mall uses 10% of the energy that is needed, that is for cooling, by a similar conventionally cooled building. So what is termite technology? At the start of the day, we start the day in the morning, the building is cool. Then during the day, people use machines, people themselves emit heat, and the sun is shining. So heat is generated. This heat is absorbed by the fabric of the building. In the evening, temperatures outside drop, and we have warm internal air that is vented through chimneys. At night, the process continues, and we also have cold air that flows through the cavities in the floor slab until the building fabric reaches ideal temperature. Then the day starts again. I have this pictorially so that we appreciate where, you know, that is, when you look at the structure, it's like the mold of a termite anthill. So what we're saying is that the red, that is the heat or warm air, and then the blue, that is the cool air. So during the day, and we also have vegetation that is outside, that also reduces heating due to sunlight. So the hot air is captured into the middle of that chute, and it is vented out through those chimneys that are up there. And then we also now have the cool air that is now being blown by fans. It goes in through the floor slabs and it helps reduce temperatures, and then we go back to temperatures that we would have started with at the beginning of the day. So that is what we call termite technology. So we've used that, and this was the first, Eastgate Mall was the first building to actually use this technology for natural cooling. Other strategies that we are employing as a country, we have buildings, the layout of buildings, we encourage optimum use of natural light and ventilation. So when we're doing our planning, when we're doing our building layouts, we make sure that they're laid out in such a way that we capture as much natural light as possible and also natural ventilation. We've also embarked on regularization of settlements. When as the cities continue to grow, we need people settle anyhow and anyway. So as a country, we've moved in to regularize these settlements by putting in basic services like water, sewer, and roads to ensure that the settlements are functional. We've also looked at recycling and reuse of grey water in settlements. This water is what can be used also even for irrigating the green areas and other uses that don't have to do with domestic, other than the settlements using purified water for irrigating vegetables. Then they might as well use the grey water. Then we also have some settlements that are using on-site sewer biodigesters, where at the end of the day the biogas also gets reticulated back into the system, and we have houses that can use the biogas for heating. And then use of solar for public lighting, and also use of solar geysers. And then also lately, individuals are being allowed to sell excess solar power to the power utility, just to encourage solar installations. The future is indeed green for Zimbabwe. Here we're talking of green building bylaws. This is work in progress. We've already started the work because we need regulation, and we've already started green building bylaws. We're actually at the moment looking for funding. We have a team that was already in place, and we're hoping that maybe by mid next year or by the end of next year, we should have green building bylaws for Zimbabwe. Then rainwater harvesting in settlements. We're also going to be encouraging designers, architects to make sure that they incorporate rainwater harvesting. They put their underground tanks to harness the water, which can be used for irrigation and other areas that are not for human consumption. Then design of green areas, where we are saying that 15% of the design area should be green. So green areas are used for recreation and also for natural cooling. And then the use of new technologies and also green materials, where we want to build more efficiently and faster. And then construction of smart cities throughout the country. Let's take a look at smart cities. The Zimbabwean cabinet approved the concept of developing smart cities as a way of driving the decarbonization agenda. This transformation is anchored on digitalization and green energy use. Plans are underway to develop smart cities. Most of these are pilot projects in Melfort, Fig Tree, and Chirundu. These settlements will be sustainable and self-sufficient cities, which are efficiently serviced and also use efficient energy systems. There will be mass transport, so that, such as rail, so that we decrease people driving, to certain facilities, and we encourage more of walking and cycling, which will be provided as facilities in these settlements. And this will cut the carbon emissions from between 5 and 15%. Then we also look at basic services that should be within walking distance, whereby to go and buy a loaf of bread, you don't have to start your vehicle to go buy a loaf of bread. You don't have to start a vehicle to go and buy milk. All those basic facilities should be within walking distance to encourage also people to walk more, and thereby also encouraging health. Investment opportunities. The fire is burning in Zimbabwe. What opportunities are there? Smart cities, as I have talked about, where we are looking at public-private partnerships. The land is available. What we're looking for is funding to build build these smart cities throughout the country. Then we are also looking at construction of apartments. As the land becomes more and more finite, the country is looking at least 40% of every development building going upwards. That is the apartments. So we need partners, also in public-private partnerships, to build these apartments and requisite amenities like malls, health centers, playing centers, kindergartens. That is what we are looking at. So if you need investment opportunities, please do come to Zimbabwe. The ministry is ready. The land is available. Once funding is there, then definitely we'll be good to go. Contact us. Those are our contact details. We have a website. We also are on Twitter. We are also on Facebook. That's the WhatsApp number of our engineer. And we are also on Instagram. Otherwise, thank you very much for your attention.